YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with score predictions for Week 7 of the NFL season, predicting the score to every single game like we do every single Wednesday afternoon. Also taking a look at the lines of the games, of course. Full NFL coverage here. If you haven't seen our channel yet, go check it out. We got loads of NFL content, always adding more as well. Getting ready for that trade deadline as well, so cannot wait. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on while you're there. If you're looking for any links for our sponsors, GLD Shop or Liquid IV, the Picks League, our Twitter, pinned in the comments section. New release for the GLD Shop. See the ice that I'm rocking. It's a Max Crosby jersey. I also had to cop the Micah Parsons one as well. I don't know if you guys can see it, but they got multiple players on the site. Always have new releases, but I think I just copped the two best pass rushers in football this year. So these are sweet. I'm really excited about them, even better in person. So links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for like that. Score predictions, Thursday Night Football, Saints at the Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 2. I might have went a little bold here. Not with who I have winning, really. I think people are kind of split on who's winning, but a little bit more scoring than I would think most people would predict, because the Cardinals are struggling to score right now. They do have a stout defense, though, to maybe slow down the Saints. So at one point I was thinking about, having both those teams, or maybe 20-17, 16, or both teams under 20, but man, the Cardinals at home Thursday night. The Saints still missing Marshawn Lattimore, that is a huge factor. That's one of the best corners in football. While DeAndre Hopkins is coming back, and it's usually Lattimore's job to shut down that type of guy. He usually does a pretty good job on the physical big receivers like Mike Evans, so that's tough. And then getting Hopkins back maybe can spark something for Kyler Murray in this offense. We'll see if Robbie Anderson plays at all. I know Hollywood Brown's out, but and again, home Thursday Night Football. And the Saints are missing a lot of guys. I think maybe a little more scoring. I think the Saints, with them missing all those guys, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Andrews Pete, Adam Trautman, it's pretty tough. I think Kamara and maybe Taysom Hill, I think they could have a pretty good game here. And also maybe score a little bit more. The Saints been moving the ball, though. Be a game time decision on who starts at quarterback for the Saints. That really won't be a major difference for me. Winston might have more explosive plays. He will have more explosive plays than Dalton, but that Cardinals defense probably can take the ball away from Winston a little easier there. So I'm going to go Cardinals 24-20. It's a weird one because I can also see, again, like a 20-16 or even lower, like 17-13. I could see that as well based on how these Thursday nights been going, but I'm thinking a little bit more offense. I kind of got that feeling here, and wasn't super confident with the Cardinals. A little confident, obviously, because I'm picking them, but the more and more injuries that come out about the Saints, the more I'm confident about the Cardinals. Not that I'm super confident, but Cardinals also have some injuries, too. We talk about Hollywood Brown, Justin Pugh, guys like that. But I got the Cardinals winning by 4. Let's see if they can figure it out, because they've been one of the more underwhelming teams. The Saints, too, but they've been really beat up. Falcons-Bengals, which could be a really good game. The Bengals are favored by 6, and I don't have them covering that. 6 seems like a little bit, a little much, I guess, even though I'm kind of close to the 4 game. But then you start to think about it. Think about the Bengals matchup here. Kind of similar to playing the Saints last week. The Bengals on an offense, they've been struggling against teams that get crazy pass rush and run a lot of zone coverage. They go play the Saints last week, who a little underwhelming in terms of the pass rush this year, and they run a lot of man coverage, which the Bengals like to play against, not so much the zone. The Falcons, same thing. Their pass rush actually maybe a little bit better than expected, because I think everyone expected to be maybe at the very bottom of the NFL, but still nothing crazy like they're going to take over the game like the Cowboys did to the Bengals. And the Falcons run a bit of man coverage, which was a little surprising going into this year, but they have been running quite a bit. And then Casey Hayward's out as well. So I think the Bengals should be able to continue where they left off against the Saints. They scored 30 last week here home. I got them scoring 27. Falcons, I think the Bengals could do a good job maybe limiting Mariota, his running ability, maybe slowing down the running game of the Falcons, because that's been a big bright spot for them, really using their legs, and whether it's the running backs, Mariota. And the Bengals should be solid stopping that or slowing it down, but Logan Wilson is probably out. We'll see what happens with him, but that's tough in the middle of that defense for the Bengals. So the Falcons could get some offense going because of that, but I like the matchup for the Bengals, and that's probably why Vegas has them at 6. Here early on, but I got them winning by 4 because the Falcons have been playing some pretty good ball lately, but I'm going to trust the matchup here with the Bengals. Next game, Lions and Cowboys. Yeah, 7's always a pretty big line, but it just feels like this matchup says Cowboys, 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 Cowboys by a lot here because the Lions are an offensive team. Plain and simple, they're all offense. They're no defense. And the last time we saw them, they were none of either because the offense could not do anything against a stout Patriots defense. Let me tell you what, though, the Cowboys got a better defense than the Patriots. A little bit different, though. The Cowboys do kind of have success because of their pass rush with the Patriots. It's kind of game plan and tight coverage in the secondary and some clutch takeaways. The Lions, so where that could favor the Lions a little bit is that they have the offensive line to not allow that crazy pass rush all day on Goff. But I still trust that pass rush. I still trust Parsons throwing Goff off, and then you got playmakers like Diggs can make the play. So I don't expect the Lions to get a whole lot of offense going, even though they should get healthier, and they do have a pretty 16's a pretty good outing against the Cowboys defense really these days. So, but in the Lions defense, do not trust them. Dak's supposed to be back. They have weapons. I think Zeke could have a good day. I think Pollard could have a good day. I think these receivers could have a good day. I think Dak in his first game back could have a good day. So I'm going to trust the Cowboys to get things going. It's a well-called offense as well. So 31-16. The matchup just says Cowboys, just because they can. I'm going to trust them to slow down this Lions offense, and I know they will score on the Lions because, let's face it, pretty much anyone can. And the Cowboys are pretty solid on offense, which people don't talk about enough. Even without Dak, they were. So give me the Cowboys there, 31-16. Colts and Titans, a good one here this week to stay atop the AFC South or take over the AFC South. It looks like it's the Titans versus the Colts for the AFC South. I guess we can't rule out the other teams, but it's looking more and more like that. The last time they played, which just a couple weeks ago, the Titans scored 24 on the Colts and won. I got them scoring 24 and winning again. This time I got the Colts scoring 20, though. Last time was 24-17. Yeah, I think the game could kind of be a little similar here. I know the Titans started with getting a lot of clutch turnovers, so maybe it won't go down that route. Maybe they come later in the game. Derrick Henry, once again, probably could be a problem for the Colts to slow down. The Colts' run defense started off really good, and as soon as they played Derrick Henry, they kind of been going downhill with the run defense. They couldn't stop the Jags running game either last week, so I'm going to trust Henry there. Big bye week for the Titans right before playing the Colts. A must-win here because they had a lot of guys beat up, even though their defense was really starting to get going. Now they get some guys back, guys like Amani Hooker, perhaps Bud Dupree, guys like that. I think Jeffrey Simmons will be a big problem. He's been healthy, so that's besides the point of the health. But I think it'll be a big problem for the Colts. Looks like the Colts may be starting to figure something out on offense, but I guess we're only basing it off of last week because 2 weeks ago was a disaster. And the Titans getting things going on defense, looking like that last year defensive team. So it's hard not to pick the Titans in this game, even though I could see it going either way. I'm just feeling a little more confident with the Titans off that bye week. They're favored by 2.5, have them winning 24-20. But this one should be one of the better games of the week. A lot on the line on this game. If the Titans win this game, it's still early to say, but you start to feel like, all right, Titans are probably winning the division again, right? But if the Colts win the game, we got ourselves a good old-fashioned battle here, and the Colts are on a winning streak. They're starting to figure something out, so maybe the Colts there. So big game there, big game. Next, Packers, Commanders. Tough one to predict the score, exactly here because what is the Heineke Commanders all about? We feel that Carson Wentz is the better quarterback, but he was playing injured. And then you throw Heineke in there. Apparently, they're going to be able to open up the playbook more based on what I've heard with Heineke. So that's kind of a positive with Heineke in there. And then the game plan factor. All this film that is out is on the Carson Wentz Commanders. Now you throw Heineke in there. Is it going to be different? What do we have to worry about? Heineke might scramble and run a little bit more. They might throw some of that in there. Maybe they kind of go back because they haven't been running as much RPO as I thought they would. Maybe they as much as they did last year. And you would think it's because the quarterback changed, but Wentz is usually an RPO guy. So maybe they kind of go back to running more RPOs, actually running the ball out of RPO too. It seems like they keep a lot of those and pass it, the quarterbacks that is. So maybe it's a tough game plan for the Packers. But I still don't expect a whole lot of offense for the Commanders. I think the Packers will get a good pass rush from interior and off the outside, so I don't think the Commanders will score a whole lot of points. But the Packers' offense has been struggling. It feels like the Commanders' defense has been stepping it up a little bit, so I'm not trusting the Packers to do a crazy damage on offense. But they struggled the last 2 weeks, and that was against the Giants and Jets defenses. I think those defenses are most certainly better than the Commanders, so this could be an opportunity. But again, the Commanders' defense has been getting a little bit better and better every step of the way. So I'm going to go the Packers by 6. They're favored by 5.5, so that's pretty close. It's a tricky one to bet on just because It's like, can the Packers offense figure out? Can they finally just run the ball, pound the football? Because they need to do. Can we trust them? And then what's this Heineke, offense going to be about? They're going to change things up. Is it going to be a tough game plan for the Packers? Is it going to be surprises? They didn't expect maybe. But again, I do. The biggest difference this game, I think the Packers pass rush will be a big factor here against the Commanders. Next, Bucks and Panthers. Bucks super disappointing against the Steelers last week. What was that matchup? The Steelers, very good defense usually, but pretty beat up. So I don't know if you would call them very good, but a good defense and a struggling offense, and that was enough to get the job done against the Bucks, because the Bucks offense is just struggling that much. They can't run the ball. Brady has no time to throw the ball. He's got to just force a lot of tight window throws. He has no choice. And it's kind of a similar matchup this week. The Panthers are no offense, and they got a pretty decent defense here. They got playmakers everywhere. But I think the Steelers do a little better job stopping a run compared to the Panthers, perhaps. But the Panthers might be a little stronger in the secondary, so it could be a similar game. I just really don't trust the Panthers, especially with P.J. Walker and that coaching staff, to get many points going here. So I got them scoring 10. I got the Bucks only scoring 20. Maybe they finally get a little bit of the run game going. I think the Panthers definitely want to try to run the ball. So a lot of running clock, low scoring, 20-10. It's right around that line. 11. I first saw that line. I'm like, that's too much. That's way too much based on what the Bucks are doing right now. But then I start to crunch the numbers and predict the score. I'm like, I can't have the Panthers score more than 10. So all the Bucks got to do is score like 21, 24, which is very realistic, and they cover that. So I'm like, I guess it's not too much. I have them winning by 10, but it's pretty damn close on that one with that line. It's a little. They try to get you with that one, I guess, at first, because you think it's way too much. But like, I could see it though at the same time. So we'll see. We'll see if the Bucks can figure it out. They have the opportunity here against the Carolina Panthers. Giants and Jags. This is the toughest one to predict this week. The Jaguars are favored by 3. I for sure thought I was going bold with this one and picking the upset by taking the Jags, but apparently not. Vegas has the Jags favored by 3. I think I know why. It's kind of the same thing I got in my head with the matchup. But I can see it going either way. The Giants are looking legit right now. I'm not really picking against the Giants because I'm not one of those people that like they can't be for they're definitely not for real. Things like that. But everyone's slipping up in the NFL this year at some point. It's a crazy year, like really everybody but the Eagles for the most part there. But so I think could be a trap game where they can slip up a little bit. One thing I like the Giants in this game overall, I think they're the better team. They have a better shot against the field, the rest of the league, than the Jags do. But one thing I do like, and why I could argue the Giants in this one, is I like their defense in general, but their red zone defense is pretty stout, and the Jaguars struggle in the red zone on offense, and sometimes that's the fact. That's the biggest fact. That's why they lose games, because they just didn't make that extra play in the red zone, and that could be the same thing in this game. But I look at the matchup, and the Giants, how they beat people on offense is running the football. The Jaguars are 3rd in the NFL stopping a run. They've been doing a pretty good job doing that, so I like how they match up there. The Giants, if there is one thing they struggle on defense, it is stopping the run. They have actually struggled big time stopping the run, and the Jaguars seem like they really got something going running the football, especially last week against the Colts, so I kind of like that. I think a lot of running the football here, and I think a lot of good defense. That's why I have a very low-scoring game at 17-16, 1-point squeaker here. I'm going to trust the Jags to find a way, snap out of that losing streak, and maybe give the Giants that loss that they're finally due, because they've been hot. This is actually the first. Well, the Giants played in London 2 weeks ago, but there was no home team in that because it was in London. The last time they played against a team where the other team was the home team, or the Giants were technically the away team, was Week 1 against the Titans. So somebody actually finally has home field advantage against the Giants here. It's weird how that happens. So maybe that's a tiny bit of a factor as well. Kind of a gut feeling, but at the same time, you look at the matchup, the way that, the clock's going to roll off. I think the Jags can create a turnover on Daniel Jones, too. Lawrence, of course, needs to take care of the ball, but the running game differences, I think, or where the strengths and weaknesses are, that's a big reason I like the Jags in this one. But that's a toss-up game. But next, Browns and Ravens. Ravens are favored by 6, but I got them winning by 3. I think this could be a close game, something to monitor, which could change a pick. Mark Andrews hasn't practiced yet this week. They did sign Deshaun Jackson. We'll see if they use him. Obviously different. One's a receiver, one's a tight end, but it's just That's what's going on with the Ravens right now. Could it be an Isaiah Likely breakout game if Mark Andrews is out? I know Oliver's been playing a bit more, but Likely is more of that receiving threat to where if Andrews is out, I think we'll likely see Likely a bit more. But if Andrews is out, that might be tough because that's a humongous piece of that offense. Obviously, I don't have to say that. Goes without saying. But I think it's going to be a good game. I'm going to trust Lamar in this offense to do just a little bit more damage here, enough damage, because the Browns defense has been struggling more than expected. But you can move the ball in the Ravens defense. It's not like the Browns are playing that Patriots defense from last week. We saw almost the shootout they had with the Chargers. It was kind of just back and forth, everyone moving the ball. It kind of could be similar to that. Like both teams are kind of back and forth, moving the ball very well, scoring points. It could be more similar to that Chargers game there. But in Baltimore, I'm going to trust the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. I said that last week. I was trusting Lamar to do it just enough against the Giants. He kind of blew the game at the end, but I think he figures it out in this one. We'll see if Mark Andrews is in or out here, but close game I got. 27-24 Ravens. I think that should be a pretty good game. I think that line, it was actually 7. It was actually Ravens by 7, I believe, at first, which is way too much. 6, they're heading in the right direction there, but it seems like a bit still. Next, Jets and Broncos. I thought I was going to go with the upset in this one with taking the Broncos, but it's even. It's the second even line, pick'em line that we had on the season. The first one was actually last week. It was Commanders, Bears, and I correctly picked the Commanders in that one. So I'm going to go the Broncos in this one. I think that's a little bold, though, because the Jets are playing it simple. Have just been playing better football. But I like the matchup for the Broncos. Basically, what it comes down to in this one is I know the Jets have been scoring offensively, so 13 might be a little bit of a surprise, but the Broncos' defense has been very, very good. It's been really stout, really good here. I think 2 very solid defenses. I like the Broncos' defense more, but the Jets are going against a struggling Broncos offense. So 2 very solid defenses going at it, making big-time plays. It's going to be about which quarterback takes care of the ball. I guess which team takes care of the ball. I know Melvin Gordon going to be starting. Apparently, that came out a little bit ago. He's got to take care of the ball. But I'm going to trust, even though Russ has not been good at all, I'm going to trust him to take care of the ball more than Zach Wilson. I think, Zach Wilson's been taking care of the ball better than expected so far. Now he's playing a very stout defense. And then keep in mind the Jets have been a little beat up on the offensive line. They've been very impressive given that as well. But they haven't really played a consistent pass rush or a problem pass rush where it's a kind of a pre-snap and what are they doing? The Broncos are kind of that team here. So it's a little bit different of a challenge for that beat up offensive line and Zach Wilson, who has the ability to turn the ball over a little bit. So that's where my head's at. Defensive game, 2 stout defenses. I think the Jets turn the ball over that 1 extra time the Broncos do. And that could be the difference there. A lot of running clock too. The Jets they're gonna run the ball. They're gonna go with that, and this is the reason they could win. They're gonna go like they did against the Packers. A lot of that misdirection, a lot of pre-snap motion to try to throw off a good defense here, and that could be the difference. That actually could be. Maybe it's something different the Broncos aren't used to. So that'd be a reason for the Jets. I just really feel like it's a defensive game, and the Broncos make that extra clutch turnover here. So I'm gonna go with them, 16-13, low scoring, maybe a little bold on how low scoring that is, but that's my feeling there. But the Jets have been super impressive on both sides of the ball. Let's see if they can keep rolling. Texans and Raiders. Raiders are favored by 7. I like them winning by 10 here, 30-20. I think the Texans defense has been stout. It's been pretty good, better than expected. They slipped up against the Chargers, though. I think it kind of could be a similar matchup. I think the Raiders having that bye. Adams is still out there. No suspension. Renfro. Josh Jacobs has been running very well for them. And they're kind of, because remember, they kind of switched to more of that gap scheme this year. So they're just kind of getting going. It kind of makes sense, with running more effectively and the blocking, all those things, and kind of getting Carr and Adams on the same page. So I think they get going. I think they're really, not just this game, I think they really get going offensively. You can move the ball on this defense. The Texans have kind of been hot and cold with moving the ball and not, it could be somewhat similar to that Chargers game, so I'm going to go 30-20 Raiders. This is that time. It's a must win for the Raiders. They lose this game, it's panic time, but if they got to win this game, and that I'm kind of confident they can kind of get something going here. They're much better than what their record shows here. So give me the Raiders here by 10. Next, Seahawks and Chargers. This is a really good game. I think 6.5 is too much for the Chargers to be favored by. I can definitely argue the Seahawks win this game. It's going to be a really good game. I think somewhat of a shootout here. I'm just going to trust Herbert over Geno Smith a little bit more. That'll be the difference for me. Two very good offenses that both surprisingly kind of played in defensive games. Won in defensive games. It wasn't surprising they won, but that they had to play in defensive games because these are usually offensive. They're going to be offensive games when it comes to these teams, and I think it kind of gets back on track to that. Both offenses that are very explosive, high-powered right now, and defenses that you can move the ball on. You can definitely move the ball on these defenses. So I think Herbert can make plays against that secondary. I think Eckler and it'll be Sony Michel who ran all right last week. I think they can be effective on the ground against the Seahawks. Take a look at the Seahawks. I think Geno Smith and mainly him with those big time weapons, they can sure air it out against the Chargers. And I'd watch out for Walker in this game. Kenny Walker, very physical back. The Chargers kind of struggle, stopping the run sometimes. That's a big factor, X factor in this game. So I watch out for Kenny Walker. So yeah, I can argue both sides. Both offenses should be able to get things going. I'm gonna trust Herbert to make one extra play than Geno Smith, and I'm going to trust maybe like a Khalil Mack, or it seems like that Tranquil blitz is pretty good too, so maybe like something like that, Derwin James, those guys to make one extra play compared to the Seahawks defense. So that's why it's like, I can see us going either way. Offense is going at it, but I'm going to trust a couple more Chargers big-time players to make that extra play. I think what the Seahawks actually could do, if they start with the ball and just really pound it with Walker and create big-time problems for the Chargers, they can take over the clock, control the clock, and maybe that'd be the way to kind of pull it off here. But I'm going to trust the Chargers a little more. That should be a really good game, though. Chiefs and 49ers, this would be a really good game, and it still could be, but the 49ers are very beat up, and we'll see who plays, who doesn't, but it's sure looking like a list of guys are still going to be out, especially on defense for the 49ers, I should say. But yeah, this could be a really good game too. It'd be like the best defense or second best. It's up there against the best offense or one of the best. It would be such a good game. And I don't really know who I would pick if they were full strength, but got to go with the Chiefs as the 49ers are pretty beat up here. They'll be able to get enough offense going against a very stout defense. It's still a good defense, even though it's beat up, but they'll be able to do enough here. So I'm gonna go with the Chiefs 27-23. The Chiefs played some pretty good defense last week too, so we got to give them credit there. They're favored by 3. I got them winning by 4, which is close. It's just you got to monitor it if you're gonna bet on this one. If 49ers got there's just so many scenarios. Like this guy can be out and this guy could be in, but this guy can be out and that guy can be out, but this guy can be in because it sounds like Armstead's not going to play. Hufanga is questionable. Nick Bosa is questionable. We know Kinlaw's out. Jimmy Ward's questionable. Charvarius Ward, who used to be a Chief, is day to day. I'm thinking a chunk of those guys. I think Nick Bosa might be able to play, but I think a lot of the other guys are going to be out. Which, if like the rest of them, or even if Nick Bosa plays and the rest of those guys are out, I'd probably like the Chiefs by 3. They're not going to cover by much. Like I have 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there, but I just don't think it'd be any less than that. So it is very tricky because of the injuries. If for some reason the Niners I really don't think Armstead's going to play, but everyone else, like Ward playing, both Wards playing, Jimmy Ward, Charvarius Ward, Bosa playing, then you got a little bit of a ball game here. I think having all those guys in, you got a toss-up game, in my opinion, in San Francisco with that defense. So it's a tricky one there. Sunday Night Football. First glance on this one, too, I was like, 7 seems like a bit for the Dolphins. They're losing a bit right now. I know they're getting Tua, but it seems like a bit. But then once I, predict my score, it's like, that's exactly what I have it at. So it's like, I guess it's not a lot. It's kind of what I was feeling. I know the Steelers can do enough offensively. I guess who plays quarterback plays a factor. I would trust Trubisky, even though it's weird because I think they should play Pickett, kind of just try to get him going, see what you got in him, But I think Trubisky would do a little bit more damage in a game like this, in a good way for the Steelers. But we'll see. It sounds like if Pickett passes concussion protocol, he will play. If he doesn't, then it'll be Trubisky. But the Dolphins had a pretty good outing defensively last week. They're kind of getting healthier on defense. So I don't know if I see the Steelers scoring more than 17. They could score 20 perhaps. I could see the 14 or 13 final even. I felt good with the Steelers at 17. The Steelers still playing pretty well on defense. Tua's first game back. So I don't think the Dolphins will go crazy offensively. They'll definitely do enough. They'll have some splash plays. Tyreek Hill, Waddle will be better with Tua back. We know that. So Mike Tomlin's usually pretty good at game planning we're going to focus on the pass here because the Dolphins aren't a crazy threat on the ground, and Mostert's been pretty solid. So it could be good with the game plan here. They might have, just like against the Bucs there. So it could be a similar game plan, similar matchup. So we'll see. But I'm going to go 24-17. I don't see either team going off on offense like completely crazy. I got the Dolphins doing just enough. Monday Night Football, I got an interesting score here, I suppose. 20-9 is what I got. In New England, Monday night, the Bears' offense has really been struggling. They struggled against a struggling defense of the Commanders. They moved the ball a little bit more than what the 7 points will show, but they're just having a real problem putting it in the end zone. Fields has been off with his ball placement. He's been hesitating to throw certain balls, or the way he's throwing it, it seems like he's a lot of time he's putting touch passes. He's putting touch on the ball when it should be a bullet, but kind of vice versa at times as well. So he's a little bit in his own head. Hasn't been great against pressure, except for the times where he does escape it and has a big run. But even on those times, he's kind of taking sacks. He's just a big body guy that's kind of escaping those. But he could do a little bit of that in this one. But that's going against Commanders defense, and these other defenses have been going against. Now we're talking about the Patriots defense, who is playing like one of the best in football right now. Bill Belichick it does a phenomenal job against these young, struggling quarterbacks as well, giving them problems. He'll dial up some good blitzes for them. The secondary's been playing really tight. The Bears are mainly a run-first team. That if you're kind of one-dimensional, Belichick does a really good job of taking away that thing if it's one-dimensional. So it's just an awful, awful matchup for the Chicago Bears. So I do not see them getting enough points up on the board here. I think their defense will play all right. I think the Patriots, I have them scoring 20. It's nothing too crazy. I think Stevenson has a pretty big day. A lot of running clock in this one. And the Bears know, because of the matchup, our only shot on this one is really coming out and try to winning the time of possession. Let's pound the football. Let's not make any mistakes. Let's keep the Patriots off the field here. So I think a ton of running clock, a ton of running the football. Therefore, we have a total of 29 in this one. Patriots fair by 7.5 is a reason for that, I suppose. So, yeah, tough matchup for the Bears here. Another Bears prime time, back-to-back. I don't understand the scheduling there. But that'll wrap it up for the Week 7 score predictions. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Always talk with you guys on Twitter, not live talk during games, live news, rumors, and updates on our Twitter as well. At GoDos NFL is linked pinned in the comments for that, as well as our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV. Check those things out. Picks League down there as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications on here on the channel, because we have full NFL coverage with a lot more on the way always. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.